Uliona jana mtu wako anaitwa Gachagua wakishambuliwa sana area za Narok. Wanasema mtu wangu wa that the opposition wanakuwa attacked by a state organized kind of violence. What's your take generally? Because yesterday was the last day for campaigns as we prepare for the by-elections that will be happening on Thursday. And we've seen both sides traverse many parts of the country trying to push their agenda. What's your overall take so far?
UDA is about to lose in all these by-elections.
Yeah.
I happened to have been in Mbeere North. And in Mbeere North, UDA had campaigned unabated.
Yeah.
Hakuna mtu alisumbua UDA, hakuna mtu aliwauliza maswali. So throughout that period when they were campaigning, they had a field day. Now, Rigathi Gachagua decides to visit Mbeere North, and they have a problem. They blocked us. I remember in Kanyambora, a field we were supposed to use had more policemen than we who were going there. Walileta polisi mpaka kutoka Meru. Tharaka Nithi yote hakukuwa na policemen just to come and stop Rigiji from meeting the people. But we walked, I remember, we went to churches, we went to markets, we went to people, we spoke to them. It's just that I couldn't be there. I was there for only 3 days.
Yeah.
I came back because we have to continue with life. Now, the seat for Mbeere North is completely and totally a done deal. That one is going to the United Opposition, Democratic Party. I can give you assurance 100%. Now, the only place we felt we were weak kidogo, and by then we are doing well, we are almost at 50-50, was Kajiado. So Rigiji said, let me cut short here and go and help those people in Kajiado just to lift the little remaining percentages to pate kiti ya Kajiado. What do? They block. Why are you blocking Rigiji from coming to Kajiado? And the gentleman is only coming to campaign. Why are you blocking him? Hawaja block watu wa gava. By the way, do you know even Jubilee campaigned there? Nobody asked them questions. Every other person is allowed to campaign Kajiado, but Rigiji is not allowed. These are cowards. This is a cowardly government. This is a government that does not believe in democracy. This is a government that does not believe in the rule of law. This is a terrible administration that wants to block certain people from campaigning in certain areas. You have seen what they've done in Malava. I mean, why is the opposition being mistreated the way it's being mistreated in Malava, and we are not being allowed to voice it? We are going to say government is going to lose Malava, and they have lost it and they know. The only recourse they have left for them is violence. I know we are also going to win Magarini. The government is going to lose the seat in Magarini, and the only thing now they are planning to do next is to wait for when Rigiji is going to Magarini and send goons and policemen to go and beat up people because they have lost. And that's what cowards do when they lose in a fair fight.
Do you agree with Fanyamambo that the United Opposition is going to have a clean sweep in most of these areas that the by-elections are being conducted? Is he being overly ambitious?
No, I think he's within the boundaries because we have been following what has been happening, the campaigns in all the areas that are slated for the mini polls. We have seen, Mbeere as it is an anti-government area.
Yeah.
In fact, rumor has it that number one was not for the idea of even fielding a candidate there.
Yeah.
Because he knew that would be effort in futility. But again, he has his mandarins there. He has his people who would have felt like he does not believe in them if he let the chance pass by them. So they said, no, we are up to the task. Let us do what we can. So they went ahead to fill a candidate. And that tells you that it is almost a done deal there. We are waiting for Thursday to see what happens, to confirm.
To see how it happens.
How it happens, correct. In Malava, we have seen all, when you see someone trying to resist you, block you and frustrate you anytime you try to make inroads during the campaign periods, then you know that is someone who is worried, someone who knows he doesn't have ground. Because if you have ground, I do not see why you would even want to block your opponent from campaigning.
Yeah.
That is an indicator that things are not well for those that thought this would be a field day for them. Same thing we've seen in Kabuchai. That is an MCA election, but how the speaker is invested in that by-election, you'd imagine it is a presidential, maybe a governor being elected in that region. Simply because that is his ward, that is his MCA being elected, and the constituency is manned by a Ford Kenya MP who has rebelled, who is now in the united opposition. Therefore, you can see with all the jitters, I agree with Fanyamambo that it is likely, save for a few places where the opposition doesn't have so much interest in, like maybe Kasipul,
Kajiado.
I saw Ugunja. I didn't know Wiper has some traction in Ugunja, but I saw when Kalonzo went there to campaign, I had a second thought about the surety of ODM in that place. So, except for those few places that the united opposition doesn't have interest in, it is likely to be a clean sweep for them.
You know, Igunza, they say a day in politics is such a long time, and I would wish to have the confidence of Fanyamambo or Ruto to say that it's going to be a clean sweep in Mbeere North and in Malava especially. But the truth of the matter is that race is too close to call for me as a political reporter that has been pundit that has been on this bit for a while. It is too close to call. You would expect that both Malava and Mbeere North, the opposition will be having an upper hand because of the politics that are surrounding the area. As of now, Malava, the populace is accepting the message that is being passed by Natembeya and the Tawe movement is becoming a huge following in Western Kenya. In Mbeere North, we've known for a while that the mountain could have left President William Ruto for a while, but we've seen what the Deputy President Wamudendo so you know, it is not just a by-election. This one, it is a race to show the political direction that the country could take going to 2027. If, for example, opposition will sweep Mbeere North and sweep Malava and sweep Kisa East and sweep Kabuchai, then you know, Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi will have nothing to shout about. They will have been cornered. Watakuwa wameshikwa ile mahali. If, for example, ex-DP Gachagua will win in Mbeere North and go to Narok and win, you know, Kindiki will have no say. Hatakuwa na sauti kabisa. Okay, some might say hananga sauti paka sahi. But hatakuwa na sauti kabisa because going into 2027, the opposition will have proven that then they have the upper hand, and Ruto will have to do double to try and convince the electorate to support him in 2027. But my issue just with IEBC and following the regulations, following the act, following the law as it is, because the law is very clear that a public servant, a public officer should not be involved in campaigns. Why is Ruku being involved in campaigns? Why are these PSS being involved in campaigns? Why is the law not taking its own course? Why is IEBC silent on such issues? We've seen clear voter bribery, both in Mbeere and Malava, where thousands that have turned up are lining up to get 1,000. Why is the IEBC not taking action? Why is it that even EACC is acting as if you hear nothing, say nothing? I think it's time that the institutions that we build then take action, so that going forward people know that if you do ABCD, your action is going to be taken against you. Why would Gachagua be stopped from going to Narok? Why will you bring policemen to try and stop a politician to access to exercise his right to campaign? You know, those are some of the bad manners that President William Ruto had promised before that no longer will his government try to use state machinery to play politics, but it appears that the more things change,
the more they remain the same.
Yes.
Fanyamamba, do you believe that IEBC, the current commission, has what it takes to actually conduct these by-elections? And remember, they're being used as acid tests when we approach 2027. But do you think that they have what it takes? Because already they've been put on the spot because they cleared a candidate who had been on EACC radar, and a warning was given by the corruption agency, but they went ahead and cleared him.
To start with, UDA is a crime scene, because UDA should not have presented a terrible candidate that EACC is looking for to vie in Mbeere North. You know, there are so many people who were born and brought up in Mbeere North, but this government has a habit of looking for the most terrible ones, the ones with the worst records, the ones who are accused of stealing millions from hospitals. That is the one that UDA has an appetite for. And I have told you, even in their state appointments, they have this appetite, insatiable appetite for all the terrible people. You know, look for the worst guy, make him a minister. Look for the most sycophant, make him a governor. Look, you know, they just have an appetite for all the wrong people and all the wrong things. And they make sure that if they are presented with 57 candidates, they would look for the most terrible one, the one with the worst record, and they would make sure that that is the one who flies the UDA flag. Why they are wired that way, only God knows. But also EACC has failed us, because one of the first things they should have done is to disbar this guy from vying. They should have said that this person should not be on the ballot. So the fact that Wamuthende is on the ballot is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But sisi hatuogopi Wamuthende. I am telling you as someone who has gone to Mbeere North, and I am telling you as somebody who was on the ground for 3 days and campaigned in Mbeere North for the candidate for the United Opposition. This one, the government has lost completely. They are not going to get it. It is lost. It is gone completely and totally. Isi yao. Na hata walete fujo. I told you. Wanamwaga polisi huko ni kama hakuna kitu ingine. Wherever the United Opposition candidate is, wanamwaga polisi. The only last thing is to remind the people of Mbeere, muliahidiwa pesa. That if you vote in a particular way, you take a photo, mtapewa pesa. Tulikubaliana venye mnafanya na hiyo picha. Yeah? Hakuna mambo ya kwenda kupiga picha ukipiga kura. Eat all the money you can eat from this administration. After all, it is our money. And then after that, I was watching the newspapers today that new KCC owes farmers 300 million. Hiyo ndio ile pesa imetumiwa Mbeere North. Hatujahesabu ya Kabuchai na kule kwingine. Our government is wasting the money in all the wrong places. And then all the right people don't have money. That is the UDA that people voted for. And 2027 will be a resounding no to this administration.
First, let me commend the IEBC for the step they took, or the measures they took, or the disciplinary measure they took against the violence that was witnessed in Kasipul by fining the candidates $1 million shillings each. But you see, it should not be done selectively.
Yeah.
That was Kasipul. We witnessed violence in Machakos. We are yet to hear anything from IEBC what has been done.
Yeah.
There we saw what happened in Kabuchai and Malava, where Natembea was fired at live ammunition. We are yet to hear what has happened there. We know that we've had those that are suspected to have taken part in that. Mm-hmm. So on that front, I think IEBC has to complete the circuit. Second, this is an institution that suffers a lot of trust deficit.
Yeah.
And one would imagine they would want to redeem themselves, or they would want to start a foundation of building that trust using this by-election. By that, they have begun on a wrong footing, as you pointed out, by this question that is being raised in Mbeere North. We have seen all those allegations against that candidate. You know, you do not need to have questions on every other candidate of the over 100 candidates that will be participating in this election for you to know that IEBC has begun on a wrong footing. If you want us to believe that the system as it is known, the government does not have you in their pockets, then begin by demonstrating that you can go against even their biggest candidates in such a by-election. That has not been demonstrated. I do not know after 27th if there will be other incidences or issues that will emerge that will again raise questions about IEBC. But like you say, to answer the question directly, they have begun on the wrong footing by not demonstrating authoritatively that they are in charge and sticking to the law.
On what basis will IEBC be stopping Wamudende from vying?
Recommendation from IEBC.
For example, Ruto's uncle Aluke was jailed for 67 years.
Yeah.
He vied. You know, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
You can't write a wrong.
What I'm saying is that the chapter 6 in our constitution is totally dead.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. Because once we allowed President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto to vie, facing the in 2013, facing the accusation they faced then,
Yeah.
you know, there were accusations of rape, accusations of mass murder, accusations of what. Wamudende is accused of stealing 6 something million shillings from KNH. The accusations that were facing President Uhuru Kenyatta then and President William Ruto then were much more serious accusations that are facing Wamudende. And so I would want to know what then would the president or IEBC use to stop Wamudende from vying, because chapter 6, when the courts ruled that Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto can vie, then the chapter 6 of the constitution literally died with that, because you have seen politicians with far much issues being allowed to vie. Like I've said, Aluke is vying. There are people who have been accused of killing each people. You know, Didmas Baraza was accused of killing somebody and he was allowed to vie. Kagombe the other day was accused of killing somebody. He will vie in 2027. And so I don't know where we draw the line to say that now Wamudende should not have allowed to vie, and Aluke should be allowed to vie, and all other these politicians. So we need them to demarcate and say this is the red line that you can't cross. Because as of now, if IEBC stopped Wamudende from vying, he's going to go to court, and the courts are going to, because there is a precedent, they are allowed other politicians. So why would you be stopping Wamudende from vying for this political seat?
So are we doing this because others have been allowed to do it? Are we gonna?
The president, the law is there. You know, Manyamambo is the lawyer here who will tell you that once the court rule that ABCD can happen, that becomes part of the laws of the republic. And so the IEBC, the courts have ruled that as far as you have not been through all the court system until the Supreme Court, you are still innocent until proven guilty. And so for Wamudende, he has not even been charged. You know, these are just accusations, and so it becomes very difficult for IEBC then to use the accusations, you know, to stop Wamudende from vying.
Okay, someone needs to understand what is the role of the EACC.
Yeah.
Anybody who offers themselves to vie is supposed to go first to EACC, and they're supposed to be cleared. So amongst the places that must clear you before you vie is EACC. It's like KEBS. You know, you can bring a bad product in the country and KEBS will look at it and say this product is substandard. Now, if you go to court and the court rules that the substandard product should continue being on the shelves, that's okay. You have the law standing by a substandard product. But the people who were supposed to tell us the chemical composition, for example, let's say you're making margarine, the people who were supposed to tell us, kwanza kuna vitu tungine watoto wanakulanga. There's a time KEBS said, these, you know, they boil them. I don't want to mention the name. They look like spaghetti. And it was ruled that these things, KEBS said these things are not good for human consumption. They're actually substandard. Even the sugar that had a lot of mercury in it, KEBS will come and tell you this thing is wrong. That is the mandate of KEBS. Now, then they will forward that recommendation that we as KEBS have said we have our reservations with these ones going on. Now, if you go and get a court order saying, oh, you have passed, you've done. The court, so you have the law supporting you, but the contents of the margarine you are selling remain terrible. They are not fit for human consumption. So what EACC needed to do as EACC is they should have written and said, as EACC, we have not cleared this candidate. We have found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and EACC, we have not given a green flag. So what would have happened is he would have moved to court, and probably he would have vied based on a court order. But at least EACC would have retained its integrity, and people would say they did their part. On their part, they did not.
You mean
clear this
IEBC?
guy. No, EACC. You have to be cleared by EACC before you vie.
EACC made the recommendation.
This is what I
so
mean.
IEBC was to say, because you have not been cleared, and this is one of
Exactly.
the requirements,
Yes.
we will not clear
Yeah,
you.
so EACC should have done their work first, made a
Which they
recommendation
did.
and saying we don't support, but for them they supported the candidate, and then IEBC cleared the candidate. But there's one good thing. I want you to look at Wamodhende as a government project, and I want you to see how we are going to beat Wamodhende in Embu with all the state resources. And I'm happy they have meted violence on us. I'm happy they have poured all our money in Mbere. They have done everything. Mpaka wametuma governor hakuna kazi ingine anafanya. The deputy president of the Republic of Kenya hakuna kitu ingine anafanya, ni kuimba songs za Wamodhende. We are happy that the government has done that kind of campaign, so that once we beat them, they will not say it was not a government candidate. It will be clear on the face of it that we have beaten government with all its state machinery. And let it be known to them that they shall not subvert the will of the people of Embu. I have been there, and the people of Mbere have made it very clear that after they vote, they are watching keenly. If Wamodhende wins, they will allow. If Newton Karish wins, it should be allowed. All we want is that the will of the people be allowed to take place. So hii ujinga ya kufikiria they can subvert the will of the people is where we shall draw the line.
It is going to be a very closely watched race, especially in Malava, in the Mbere North, in Kabuchai. For the first time, Father of Rome is being forced to go on the ground and campaign vigorously for an MCA seat because there is an independent
Third in command.
Yes. There's a candidate there who is giving him a run for his money, and so it's going to be a very, very close race in Mbere North, in Malava, but the by-election is going to give an indication
Precisely.
of how then the politics of the country.
For whoever wins, what will it mean if in these hotly contested areas we have the government taking the day, or the united opposition taking the day? Going forward as we approach 2027, what will that be indicating?
For whoever wins, I wouldn't say it would mean so much for them. But for the outfits they are fronted by, that is where it counts. Let me begin by observing that in all these by-elections, we haven't seen the president so much
Getting
in the
involved.
campaigns,
Yeah.
for one reason. In Mbere, like I mentioned earlier, you know, this is a place where they had known it is an anti-government region, so it would be almost wasting our time doing this, but they said let's do this. So when he takes a back seat, he gives out resources, I want to believe, because if you see fire is there, and all those people campaigning, then mdosi lazima ametuma and then mfanye, but he has not been there physically as you would see in every other campaign, because he's put them to task. We are going to 2027. This is now where it comes in. What does it mean? Not particularly for those that will win, but for the outfits, united opposition and the government side. For people to begin discussing who will be deputy president, who will take what in 2027, this is where the litmus test is being used. What your Mlima, fire with his company being tested by number one, who is not involving so much of himself in the campaigns. In Western Kenya, he's sent there Musalia Mudavadi, who led the campaigns, of course assisted by
Papa Roma.
Faruki. No, Papa Roma.
Faruki Bey.
Faruki Bey.
Yes.
But the burden of it all is on the shoulders of Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. So that when we get to 2027, if he decides this is what I know about Western, no one will argue with him about it. So it is going to give a bearing on how the politics will play out in 2027, both for the united opposition and the government. For the united opposition, when you see George Natembeya not fearing bullets and refusing to get into the vehicle when they are firing bullets at him, is because he knows he needs to command Western to get to that table on the day the united opposition will be deciding who will be president, who will be deputy president, and all those positions, for his stakes to count for whatever efforts he's making. So for both camps, it means a lot going into 2027. For individuals, you know, Seth Panyako or whoever, all those, they may win now. But it is not a guarantee that by 2027 they will be the candidates for those outfits going into the general election.
What it would have meant for government to win Mbere, and I mean would have, what it would have meant for government to win Mbere is that Ruto will have succeeded in his mission. His plan was to divide Mount Kenya. You know, this Mount Kenya block is a very stubborn block. His plan was to divide it into Mount Kenya East and West, with the leader of the East being Kithure Kindiki. So he would have gotten Embu, Mbere, Meru, Tharaka, Nithi, that whole region, which is about 35% of the total votes of the whole Mount Kenya, with Mount Kenya West having about 65%, which is predominantly now the Murang'a, Kikuyu, you know, so the rest of the Kikuyu speaking, now not the Mbere, the Tharakas, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So what it would have meant for William Ruto is that now he can do his maths the way he wanted in the country, that he can get the Luo Nyanza votes, which he was imagining he would have, he wouldn't, and then he would add to what he would have gotten in Mount Kenya East, and then he would be somewhere. So basically it's to segregate the Kikuyu out of the equation. But that may not happen. And if it doesn't happen, what it means is that Kithure Kindiki will be kicked out. He'll be told, you're not useful to me. If you cannot deliver an MP seat in your own backyard, you're not useful to me. So Mambarire will be dropped as chairman of UDA. She'll be told, look here, UDA does not need you people. I was hoping to get Mount Kenya East. It has been proven that it is impossible. Now, go to the other side. They have this terrible, kanaitwa nini aka kitu kanapeananga opinion polls za uongo. You know, that thing is a UDA outfit. Every opinion poll they have, can you imagine them saying in Dagoretti South, KJ who told the young people at in Photoshop will get 61%. So it's like a useless opinion poll outfit that works for UDA. Now that opinion poll outfit will become useless. In fact, Kenyans now will see it for what it is, because the truth are coming. By Thursday, those opinion polls na ako ka outfit kameenda kwao nyumbani, and Kenyans should condemn it for what it is. So after these elections that are happening on the 27th, I can tell you now, look, that ka opinion poll also, na ingine walifanya na Dennis Itumbi wakajaza kwa gazeti fulani yao wanapenda hapa. They were saying that they control Western. They were saying that they control Masai land. They were saying that they control Northeastern. Now, can you imagine you control Northeastern and you are having to use all state resources to make sure that the candidate who is vying on DCP in Banisa is made to step down? You're using state resources and fighting people in Kajiado where you are saying you are popular because you had created a stupid opinion poll to lie to Kenyans that you are popular. And now it is coming out clearly that Kenyans don't want you in Kajiado. Now, if they lose Malava, and they will, and I promise you they will, once they lose Malava, walikuwa wanasema ati wako na Western, they don't need Mount Kenya. Hiyo Western hawana, and by the for the first time, Western is going to vote as one block in 2027. In fact, anybody who will not be on DAPK ticket in Western will have a big problem. ODM, forget the Western
movement, not DAPK.
Tawe. So yes. ODM needs to forget Western. In fact, waanze kutafuta any seat they ever got in Western, ODM needs to forget that seat. Kasipul, ODM will be lucky to win. And I mean, they will be lucky, very, very lucky to win. Chances are that they might lose that seat. Have you ever seen ODM campaigning in their stronghold? This is the first time they are sending everybody and everything to Kasipul. And ODM, you used to get the ODM ticket, you go and wait for the election. Now you're getting the ODM ticket and you have to cause mayhem and violence to be relevant in that place. It tells you something.
We saw the other day that State House is leading when it comes to overshooting their budget. Right now we're talking about having spent 4.32 billion in the 3 months, the first quarter of this current financial year, against a target of 1.92 billion shillings. Yet we have people who are being evicted and given peanuts for compensation.
This just, it shows the difference between the lip service we are being given by the government and what is on the ground. Because what is on the ground is that the government is misusing a lot of funds. The government is is engaged in spendthrift, and they are telling us tighten your belts, or we have to do austerity measures, and we are not seeing that, because each and every day we are seeing the president visiting several areas, going to launch small projects using state machinery. You go with choppers to go and plant trees, for 10 or 20 trees. That's how economical can that be? And this presidency has shown that they are so much into trying to move around the country, paying lip service to Kenyans, and yet on the ground things are not working the way they are supposed to work. We saw the president even in a State of the Nation address telling us how he wants to build construct roads worth 5 trillion shillings, and you're asking yourself, hiyo pesa iko wapi? Because if we cannot even afford to pay university dorms, who wanted 10 billion, 7 billion, we can't afford to pay university dorms that money. We can't afford to give our JSS intern teachers, to give them permanent and pensionable
maziwa ya KCC 300
million. We cannot afford to pay that debt. And so you ask yourself, where are you going to get 5 trillion shillings to build all these lofty projects that you are talking about? Which miracle are you going to use? And when we question such a things, the president tells us we are naysayers, or we are there's a word he kept on using during his State of the Nation address. But we're just asking because we have had these promises before. We've had big promises made by the presidency. We have not seen them. All we are seeing is empowerment by Kindiki and Farouk and all those other people. And so it is going to be very difficult for even the presidency to achieve what they are promising Kenyans over and over and over again.
Ruto.
For State House, it is not anything new when it comes to the spending. What is the word they use? But the unreasonable spending. Every other time you will be stopped to be told they have asked for more money when it is budget making time, and you will hear of the things they do with the money they are allocated. We have been hearing of furniture being
new furniture being bought, renovation, curtains,
and all those. Recently, we heard the church was being built, but someone said they were going to use their own money. We don't know how true that was. It is not something new, but that is not even the issue. When you look at the country and the demands for that cash, that so many services go unattended because there's no cash. So many workers going on strike because there's no money. They are not being remunerated well. It then begs the question: how is the government prioritizing, or how are the leaders? How is President William Ruto and his leadership prioritizing service to Kenyans? Because it cannot be that State House has everything emergency than the healthcare system, than the education sector, than the security and every other essential services to Kenyans. So I am not surprised. Just saddens that unapea mtu 150,000 and we had, it is not even that they are given, because they were registered, they tasked people to register those people that were residents there, but they were registering landlords, they say. So even that person being evicted, anashangaa tu kulikuwa na pesa wanapea watu, but they have no idea where that money is.
State House budget overshooting to 4.2 billion in 90 days. Kenyans, if you take 4.2 billion and divide by 90 days, you'll get about 46.6 million. That is what State House is gobbling in one day. 46 million. If that doesn't sadden you as a Kenyan, I don't know what should sadden you. Yani kakitu kadogo, sitting on I think 100 acres, kanakula 46 million shillings per day. Something is wrong with our State House. But secondly, what is happening in Makadara is sad. Mimi naambia wa Kenyans, unaona ukienda hapa Kilimani, on a plot 100 by 100, see what Chinese are doing with it. Izo Mahaira is building, the number of units they are building on 100 by 100. If William Ruto was keen on helping the people of Makadara that they are evicting, what I submit this government should have done is very simple. Number one, this is 139 acres. Take the first 9 acres and build those avoidable housing on that 9 acres. And then let us see them move populations to these 9 acres that they have built, and then go to their 130 acres, or maybe another 30 or another 10. But you can't come and demolish the houses of people and throw their beds and sufurias on the floor like they are rats, and then you come and say that you're building houses. I submit to you, the reason the government is destroying the houses in Makadara is because there are people who want to steal that land. The reason they're also throwing these people out is because they have no intentions of putting these people back. Show me one person, na mimi naombanga hata hii station siku moja, muinvite Mkenya wa kawaida mwenye alikuwa anaishi Mukuru kwa Jenga ama Mukuru Kayaba, ambaye alipewa hizo nyumba. We were treated to state drama there when people were invited to say boma yangu, alafu wakafukuzwa kama nyuki, wakaambiwa tokeni kwa hizi nyumba. Then they are sold to people who are able to raise 10%. Na kuna community fulani sitataja na mnawajua, hao ndio wananunua hizo nyumba. Na hao ndio wanaweza kuraise hiyo 10% na wamenunua na wamezioccupy. You ask, huyu mtu ni wa Mukuru kwa Jenga, ameona shamba zao zenye zilichukuliwa, nyumba zimejengwa, zimeisha. Hakuna hata mtu mmoja hizo slums amepewa. The people of Makadara, 40,000 voters, a lot should be worried. Who is the MP for Makadara? This person should be totally worried. Sasa ODM is in bed with this government. The MP for that place is from ODM. Na watu wake wanafukuzwa na haya kwa huku broad based, anakaa tu wanafurahia na hii broad based.
Na kura zinarudi
ushago. Sasa what do you say of such a member of parliament? What is wrong? What is going on with his head? In fact, the person I have seen trying to speak on behalf of the people of Makadara is Babu Owino, who was trying to say that this should not be happening. But sasa huyu jua kwa broad based government haongei. The MCAs in that area, you know, you are the MCA, hizi ni kura zako. These are literally people who voted for you. You're not having a conversation about it. So what government has done is inhumane. It is wrong, it is unacceptable. So walikuja huku kwetu Dagoretti South, wanataka kutufukuza on the houses and the land we have afforded, so they can build what they think is affordable to them. Na sisi tuliwaambia hapana, hapa tunakufa. In fact, mahali wanataka kuweka tractor, sisi tunaenda tunalala hapo. Watuchimbe pamoja na hiyo tractor, watuzike hapo tu hiyo siku.